Friends, welcome and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you might be listening or watching this. My name is Rabbi Danny Newman from Hamakom, a place for well-being, wisdom, and awakening. And with our dear friends and partners in Israel or Halev, we are going to be running a meditation retreat in a few weeks' time in the days leading up to Yom Kippur as we prepare our hearts for Yom Kippur, for that day of teshuvah, of forgiveness, of returning to who we really are. And one of the key practices we're going to be doing on that retreat is a practice of deep forgiveness. And in this video here, I'm going to lead us through the first stage of that practice. And traditionally, we would offer forgiveness in three ways, according to our tradition. The first is we begin with ourselves. We offer forgiveness to ourselves. We look at the ways in which we might have hurt ourselves, let ourselves down, spoken to ourselves unkindly, treated ourselves more harshly than we might have treated others, held ourselves to a higher standard than we would other people we love, we care about, who we're responsible for. Second stage would then be to ask for forgiveness from those people who we've hurt, who we've let down, relationships that we need to repair. We need to do a little bit of work. And finally, the last part, sometimes the most difficult part, sometimes the part that takes the most heart, the most courage, is the practice of forgiving people who have hurt us. And as I said, we'll be doing that on the retreat. But in this video, we're just going to focus on the first stage, which is the practice of forgiving ourselves, of accepting ourselves, of acknowledging ways in which we might have hurt ourselves, and offering ourselves forgiveness for doing that, of inviting ourselves back into our own hearts, of remembering that inside all of us, there's a little child, there's a little girl, a little boy who just wants to be loved, who just wants to be accepted, and who's trying their best. And we don't always get it right, and that's okay. So we're going to spend a little bit of time practicing forgiving ourselves so that we can begin again. And there are three stages to this practice. The first is we're going to spend just a couple of minutes just reflecting on ways in which we might have hurt ourselves in a contemplative way. And we're going to offer some phrases. The second stage is to offer some phrases of forgiveness to ourselves, to speak to our own hearts, to invite ourselves back into our own hearts. And finally, a few minutes just to notice any changes that have taken place in our heart, in our mind, in our bodies, and perhaps to write in your journal. It's always good to journal these things, a little bit about your experience, or to share your experience with others. And we come from this from a real place of compassion, of kindness, of gentleness. There's no right or wrong way to do this, but we come with the kavanah, with the intention of love and kindness and compassion. So we'd normally spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes on each of the stages of this practice, but in this time we have today, I'm just going to spend 3 minutes on each stage. So the first stage is to get yourself into a kind of a contemplative place, make yourself comfortable, turn off your phone, make sure it's the time you're not going to be disturbed, and just get comfortable in your own body. Take a few deep breaths, let any tension relax, and try and find an upright and dignified posture, not tense or stressed, kind of alert and relaxed. Imagine like a deer in the forest, that type of thing. And you want to just place your hands in a place where they feel comfortable. Just gently tuck in your chin and allow the back of your neck to elongate. And we'll just take a few breaths together. And with every out breath, just allowing the body to settle, the mind to settle, and becoming ready to engage in this practice. So let's just together take these 3 deep breaths. And again, with every out breath, just allowing the body to settle, the shoulders to settle, place to settle, and just allowing the mind to become a little still. When you're ready, just going to take a few minutes just to ask ourselves quietly to ourselves these questions and to just watch what arises in our own hearts and in our own minds. And remember, we're coming from a place of love and compassion. You might want to ask yourself, in what ways have I hurt myself this year? In what ways have I hurt myself? Have I spoken unkindly to myself? Have I compared myself negatively to others? Have I blamed myself? Have I put myself down? It's not because we're bad people, but we all so often acting from places of fear, insecurity, constriction, lack. And so we do this work. Just gently asking yourself, how have I hurt myself this year? Maybe intentionally, maybe unintentionally. Just do this for another minute. Just noticing what arises. In what ways have I lacked compassion for myself? Have I held myself to a much higher standard than I'd held anyone else to? When you're ready, just letting go of those questions and just coming back to your body, to your heart, just coming back, taking a couple of deep breaths before we move on to the next stage of the practice. And again, if we were doing this fully, we'd spend 5-10 minutes doing this, but we're just going to spend a couple of minutes. And we're going to go back into that contemplative space. And we're just going to offer ourselves forgiveness. We're going to offer ourselves forgiveness by saying, following types of words or phrases to ourselves quietly. And you can use these phrases that I offer, or you can use your own phrases. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that you come with an open heart as much as you're able to, with the intention of forgiving yourself. You might want to put your hands on your heart if that helps. Offering yourself these words: I forgive myself. I forgive myself for all the ways I hurt myself. I forgive myself. To the best of my abilities right now, as much as I'm able to, I forgive myself. I forgive myself. As much as I can right now, I forgive myself. And as I said, you might want to picture yourself a little girl, a little boy, before life got so complicated and challenging. That's who you're offering forgiveness to, just as much as you're able to right now. The truth of whatever is present is all good enough. I forgive myself. And just allowing yourself as much as you're able to receive your forgiveness, to receive that forgiveness, to offer it and to receive it with an open heart. We'll do this for another 30 seconds, and then we'll end this part of the practice. When you're ready, coming back again to your body, to the room, to the seat or the floor, and just checking in with your own heart. You might have touched some raw places. Just checking in, how's it feeling right now? And the final part of this practice is to take some time to just check in with yourself, your body, your thoughts, your feelings, notice anything that's changed, anything that's different, and then to spend a few minutes with your journal, just writing about your experience. I want to really thank you for practicing with me. This forgiveness work has been hugely beneficial in my own life, and I wouldn't ask anyone else to do a practice if I didn't know the personal benefits myself. So I hope to see you soon, and please, if you're able to, feel free to join us, Ohalev and Hamakom, on retreat in the coming weeks. Bye for now, and Shana Tova Umutuka.